Happy holidays and welcome to Suite 301. I'm your host, Christian Smith. Thank you for joining us today. You know what we're doing, behind the scenes look, all Colt Club sports leagues. We are officially live on Facebook. You can now watch all of our broadcasts on the Suite 301 page and on our Facebook group pages. Also remember to follow our Facebook groups and Twitter for the latest news. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Colt Club Sports, for videos around the leagues and to watch previous episodes of Suite 301. We are going to get started right into it. We're going to talk some softball. We're going to get Savannah Aarons on the line to get the latest updates on the National Club Softball Association.
Hello.
Hey, Savannah, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good in the holiday spirit right now. How about you guys?
Oh, yeah. Gonna go less than a week now.
I know. It's crazy how quickly it goes. Well, let's talk about some softball things. I think we kind of touched on this last time, but the fall season did wrap up. Is there any surprises out there, or is it kind of too early to tell?
No, we definitely had some surprises. I know last time we talked about Sacred Heart and Kentucky clinching their playoff postseason bids already. But in Week 9, we had ECU take on UNC, and they took 2 of 3 from that conference as defending champions. So ECU taking 2 of 3 was huge. That brought them to 8-1, and NC State at 9-0 in that conference. So looking forward to that matchup, ECU versus NC State. That's going to be that last weekend in February. So it'll be here before we know it, like 2 months from now.
Yeah, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. But let's talk about your top 20 pool. Is there any shakeups since the last time the pool came out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's no surprise that Northeastern jumped from 13 to 5 with their clinch of their postseason bid, and Kentucky coming in as not ranked at all into Sacred Heart going from 12 to 7. But Northeastern, that is a huge bump for them too. They're looking good. They have one more series before they clinch. So obviously the top 20 voters think that they're going to clinch too. And then Kentucky, like I said, coming in as a non-ranked team up all the way to 14. So that's huge for them. And then both, like I mentioned, ECU and NC State coming in as non-ranked teams as well.
Okay.
Because of their fall performance. So that's a huge, huge jump for them. And then Coastal Carolina coming in, not ranked, jumping in at number 18. They finished their fall portion of their season at 9-0. So
nice.
Lots of new teams coming in to the top 20. It's exciting.
Well, yeah, that's good.
We'll see if we can hold that they can hold that true.
Yeah.
Through the rest of the spring.
Well, yeah, I mean, that just shows, the parity within the league, just, top to bottom, a lot of good teams. And so that's awesome. Let's talk about, you touched on it, but just a quick rundown. What teams have already clinched playoff spots?
Sacred Heart has clinched the North Atlantic North, and then Kentucky out in the Great American region.
Okay, so those two.
Just those two.
Okay.
Which is huge because last year we didn't have any teams clinch this in the fall. So exciting for them. I know they're anxious for April to be here.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then lastly, I mean, what kind of deadline should softball teams be looking out for?
I say the big deadline is this annual dues. The discount period ends at the end of this month. So if you guys want to take advantage of that $100 discount on your annual dues, you have to have that payment in by the 31st of December. So that's basically the big upcoming.
Yep, certainly take advantage of that. Teams out there listening, it's a $100 fundraiser to keep in your pocket. So, Savannah, I appreciate your time. Happy holidays to you, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks so much. Happy holidays.
See ya. So lots of good things going on in the softball league right now. Things have died down. We are, I believe, in what we would call the off season in the softball league as well. Let's bring in Tracy onto the set, onto the show, to talk about some spring training things. A lot of big things happening on that front as well. good. Thanks. How are you, Tracy?
Doing well.
Doing well? Doing a little bit better?
Sure. We'll
Getting
go with
over
that.
sickness. Well, let's talk about spring training. What types of things are going on? What kind of updates do you have for us right now?
So teams are still signing up, which is great because obviously we want as many teams to have the opportunity to come down, whether it's to Tampa or to the Westin Henderson as possible. There are a few teams I know who have either been in touch with Alex or myself that are kind of sitting on the fence right now. So just please, I know it's the time where you guys go home and you don't want to check your school email, and we understand, but we just need to be in contact with you in order to carry on what we need to do on our end. So whether it is one way or the other, just please keep in touch with us and let us know. Because once we do close registration soon, we have to get schedules underway so that the teams can get excited about who they're going to play in 3 months from now.
Well, I know the schedule's the big thing. Once those come out, it's not that it can't be done, but when a new team comes on, that obviously kind of throws the schedule out of whack. So
it's very difficult.
Yes. So I guess the lesson is to get your stuff in now. If you're on the fence, to obviously let Tracy know that you guys want to get in. Is there the registration deadline? It's passed?
Yes.
Okay. But all right. So we are still accepting teams.
Right.
Okay. Well, tell us anything out with sponsors. I know we have a title sponsor, correct?
Yeah, so Beach Bar and Restaurant is located in the Bay Harbor Hotel, who's one of our 5 host hotels this year. They were last year as well, and Beach Bar was a sponsor last year, but they jumped up to be the naming rights sponsor for this year, which makes a lot of sense since they are a host hotel. They did see a lot of our players and fans come through. We went as a staff a few times last year, and we enjoyed it a lot. It's a great spot. And then we have some returning sponsors like Subway, Circle K, who all the teams, always great in between games for staff and players. And then we have a new one coming on called Duke's. It's actually right in Plant City, so it's another great option if teams have that one time slot in between to go and just sit down and kind of get indoors, stay cool in between games, and get some food quick. And then with teams, we have a lot of the usual suspects that come down every year. Chad Lowe with Ohio State's coming with both D1, D2. Some new teams, Pitt State, I know we talked about them, I think, last time, but it's always nice to see some new teams taking the plunge and, saying, let's give this a shot. And a lot of the time when they do, they realize how great it is and want to come down every year, every other year.
Absolutely.
And then with softball, we're up to 5 teams right now: Air Force, Rutgers, UConn, Nebraska, and Northern Illinois. So we're looking to get a couple more on with the Florida teams since they always pop in since they're so close. So we're hoping to get between 7 and 8 of them going down.
That sounds like a lot. Is that a lot more than last year?
Yeah.
Well, good. And then just really quickly touch the West. We had it last year, but we just kind of the first year doing it. What's going on out in the West?
So right now we have 4 teams signed up: Idaho State, Metro State, Denver, and CMU Montebello. And we were just given a couple of new dates so we could kind of extend the offer to even more schools that have a spring training that's a few days after that. So it's now in addition, the 24th through the 28th. And I have sent an initial email out, but we're going to be following up with some phone calls as well to kind of gauge the interest for those days. So be on the lookout for that. And, obviously we're going to try and keep building it up like we have with the East and be able to have an option for the teams out there that don't have to travel all the way across the country to make a spring training.
And I can just speak from firsthand experience. Those fields that we're given, we have the fall tournament at Heritage Park. We also have some supplemental fields out there where we used to have regionals. So they're really nice fields. I know Henderson's great to work with. They're seeing the growth that they've actually opened up more dates for us. So if you're a team that's, out, especially out on the West Coast in California, teams in LA, we have a lot of teams in LA and Northern California. This is a great opportunity to spend your spring break playing baseball, and maybe it's not your entire spring break, maybe it's just the weekend you want to play. We're really trying to get this thing off the ground, so we're willing to work with all you guys on the schedule and things like that. But
It's
great work.
It's a great way for them to also get in their non-conference
Yeah.
games to be postseason eligible, which I
Absolutely.
know is a big concern for a lot of them.
Yeah,
so.
especially, I mean, not so much the SoPac South teams, but yeah, teams up north in the SoPac North, Northern Pacific region,
Right.
where it's, very short springs. This is an easy way to knock out your 3 non-conference games. So
And to
that's
have everything, once you pay for it, umpires are taking care
Yep.
of all of that kind of stuff. So
all inclusive.
there you go.
So any questions about either event, the East or the West, reach out to Tracy. Anything else?
Not really, I guess. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. It's that great time of year, isn't it?
Oh, lovely.
All right. Well, thank you, Tracy. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be back to talk about some NCBA stuff.
The Game is the official headwear sponsor of Cold Club Sports. They offer an early order discount to all of our leagues on top of their already low prices. Go to thegameheadwear.com and check out their wide selection of on-the-field hats, off-the-field boonies, beanies, and visors. Contact Felicia Battaglia at coldclubsports.com for all of your headwear needs.
Avis is the proud rental car partner of Cold Club Sports. From compact cars to 15-passenger vans, Avis has it all. Teams and players receive exclusive pricing and the waiver of the 25 or younger driver fee. For more information on how to reserve your vehicles, contact Alex Kane today. alex.kane@coldclubsports.com.
And we're back. Hey, I'm Sandy Sanderson. I'm here, of course, with Christian. You know him. You spent the last 15 minutes with him. Handsome-looking guy.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to come on your set and talk to you about some NCBA baseball.
No problem.
It's holidays. It's my time of year. You know my mother, and because you know Linda, you know that I'm a fan of the Christmas, New Year's, holiday season. So a lot of spirit. I got the spirit. So let's talk a little baseball. I know there's not a whole lot to talk about. You know, the fall season's been wrapped up for a while now. Yep. You had a nice conversation with Tracy about the spring training side. What do teams need to be thinking about while they're stuffing their face with turkey and stuffing and wrapping presents and so forth? What do they need to be thinking about?
While the fall season's over, it's now the spring season's going to be here before we know it. February 1st is the official start date, so it's going to be here before we know it. So there's a lot of housekeeping work that teams are going to be needing to take care of in these next couple weeks. First and foremost, the dues. We talked about the softball side of things. You know, it's a $100 discount if you get those paid before the end of December. So any teams out there, you know, there's that discount for a reason. Take advantage of that. Invoices have been sent to you. If you need another invoice, we can get that out to you. That's something to keep in mind. Other things to be on the lookout, like Tracy kind of mentioned when she was talking, I know teams are in the break mode and not checking emails and things like that. And obviously, you know, with the holidays, we encourage you to do that. But there's also a lot of important information going out, one of which is team previews. Those are going to be going out. D2 may have actually already sent those out. But on the Division I side of things, team previews are going to be going out like next week sometime. So teams, that's a great way to market your team to the top 20 pool voting panel because the top 20 polls, that's going to be coming out in late January 25th to be exact. So look out for that team preview email. You know, some teams, you know, write very minimally, but a lot of teams use that to list all their players to watch and things like that. So, like I said, again, it's a great opportunity to market your team because as a voting panel member, we don't know what your team looks like this year. So that's the only reference we really have. So look out for that. Another very important email that will be going out right after the new year. I think January 2nd is when I have it penned in my calendar. is the roster email, just instructions on how to get your roster uploaded official, because games are going to be coming. You need to have that official roster in. So,
And even those fall teams will have to get a new academic
Yes,
letter
new-
in to re-verify the academic eligibility
yeah.
of the
So
players.
even if you're great point, if you're a fall team, there is some work you have to do on your end as well. So look out for that. It's a very important email. So be on the lookout for that. I mentioned earlier the top 20 is going to be coming out January 25th, the preseason top 20. We'll also, before the top 20 comes out, we'll be releasing team previews, new regions team previews each day. So a lot of exciting stuff. The spring season's right around the corner. So lots of good stuff, exciting stuff coming up.
All right. And have there been any new teams coming on board, whether it be pre-registration for next year or last-minute additions?
I think from last meeting, I don't think we added any new teams, and we're not really expecting this time of year to add new teams for this season. But I know Alex is working on with a lot of new teams for this 2018-19 season to get on board early, signed up. So he usually posts stuff on the Facebook page whenever a new team officially comes on board. So make sure to stay tuned for that as well.
And, of course, we know Division I's going to be at Holly Springs,
Yep.
North Carolina. D2 is going to be back in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Any word yet on where Division III World Series will be hosted?
I also know Alex has had some talks. We did do that geographic midpoint, and I think where it was right outside Columbus, I believe, Columbus, Ohio. So we're looking, in the Pittsburgh area around
Western
Columbus.
PA,
Exactly.
Ohio.
Where we're based in Western PA, so we have a lot of contacts for good fields out here. So he's in the midst of those talks right now, and obviously as soon as we get something signed, sealed, we'll obviously let all the D3 teams know. I will, just on the D1 side of things, we have a host hotel signed. We'll have a press release about that out maybe next week or maybe even after the new year when guys get back into school. But stay tuned for that as well.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this segment about club baseball. After this break, we'll come back with some basketball action. Check out this ad from our sponsor, Santa Claus.
Rawlings is proud to be partnered with Call Club Sports. If your team is in need of any products that Rawlings has to offer, contact us today. Rawlings, the finest in the field.
Wilson is proud to be partnered with Cole Club Sports. Whether it be footballs, basketballs, or baseball bats from Dean Marini and Louisville Slugger, Wilson has it all. If your team has any needs for Wilson products, contact us today.
Welcome back. Now we are into the National Club Basketball Association portion of the show. Sandy, I know you're hard at work. I think we're all done recruiting teams, signing new teams. We're in the heart of the season right now.
Yep.
So what is going on in the NCBBA world?
We've had a great season so far. We're probably a third of the way through it with a lot of teams playing some fall games. Some teams did not. Some got scheduled all their conference games just in the spring. But we had a successful fall season. A lot of games played. New polls came out last week, and we got a new number one, Syracuse Orangemen.
Wow.
Climbed
Orange.
from number 2 to number 1. And a lot on behalf of their riding on the back of their 8-0 record, which is impressive. 8-0 overall, 6-0 in conference. So they've done some good work off the court. They were a very good team last year, going to the North Atlantic Regional Playoffs, and getting knocked out there by Pitt. So they're looking strong this year right off the bat. Another big mover this week in the polls is Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina, new team to the league, out to a 6-0 start in the South Atlantic South. One of the big notes on their resume right now is they've swept East Carolina, who's ranked number 16 in the polls. So they're a big matchup. One of the other big teams down there is South Carolina, who went to our national championship last year. South Carolina's off to a 3-0 start, and Coastal and South Carolina are scheduled to meet in Week 15. So excited to see that matchup and see what comes of that. And then a little sleeper down there is Furman, not ranked yet, but 5-1 in conference play. So a new team, small school, Wasn't expecting them to come out of the gate, picking up that many W's. But so we'll see how, when we get to the spring portion of the season, how they do against those opponents. A couple other items of note up in New England. We got number 10 Brown, number 15 Holy Cross. They're matching up in Week 17. Providence is a new team to the league. We don't know a whole lot about them. They're not ranked at the moment, but they're off to a 5-1 start in conference play, and they match up with Brown in Week 14. So that'll be an exciting item to watch. One of the big expansion points this year was our breaking into the West Coast, and not there's until this year there's never been a whole lot of West Coast teams playing East Coast teams or Mid-American teams, so no one really knows how those teams should be judged against the rest of the group because there's really no crossover track record there. But Arizona State and Grand Canyon Purple, Grand Canyon fielding two teams, a purple and a white team. Both of them are, every week seem to be working their way further and further up the polls, both at 6-0 in conference, and they are slated to match up Week 12, so very shortly after we get back from the holiday break. And both 6-0 in conference. Arizona State right now at 9, Grand Canyon Purple at 11. Excited about that. Some other things on the West Coast: UCLA and USC in the Southern Pacific West. Both two big name schools in that conference. The other ones are more like satellite campuses. And those are two big name schools, both out to 3-0 start in conference play. And they'll match up Week 15. So excited about that too. Going back to New England, Boston College. Listen to this. They're off to a 10-1 start.
Not a bad start.
No, 5-1 in conference, 10-1 overall. So I'm impressed. 5-0 in non-conference games. They're currently ranked 5. Harvard, currently ranked 6 in the polls, off to a 6-0 start in conference play. Those two teams will match up in Week 14. So very excited to see where that 5-6 matchup plays out. And then one of the teams of note that in my research that I'm impressed with right now is Coppin State. Hasn't played a conference game yet, but they're 4-0 in non-conference games. I like the fact that they're, you're used to baseball where everybody pretty much plays a lot of non-conference games as much as possible. In basketball, that really hasn't been the case over the years. So seeing more teams play non-conference, seeing Coppin State going out and getting non-conference games in before their conference season starts, that's prep work. That's getting the rust off before the games become meaningful. So I'm excited to see what they put together this season when they hit conference play.
Oh, cool. So, it sounds like there's a lot of big matchups coming up that are going to decide.
And we have a number of conferences that really haven't gotten going yet. So there's not a whole lot to talk about there. But, it's going to be exciting come the spring because we've got expanded opportunities for the playoffs with now each regional is now a 4-team regional. So more teams are going to get in. So it's going to be a battle in the spring. I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Well, speaking of it playing out, obviously the ultimate goal of these teams is getting to a national championship. Have we found a location? Are we talking with some places? What's kind of the update there?
We have, I think as of this moment, I've spoken with you on the show before about how we narrowed down where is the center of the NCBBA. We determined it's in Western Ohio. So we've expanded our search through Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, trying to find the right venue for us. As of right now, I believe we have 5 proposals on the table, and right after we get back from the New Year's break, Joe and I are going to hit the road and start doing some site visits.
Nice.
We're going to go on the caravan and make the drive and hit a bunch of campuses and check out their facilities, check out potential sponsored nightlife options, hotels in the areas, things like that, so we can get a gauge as to which one's going to be the right pick for us. So I'm gonna keep the sites, the names private for now, but my goal is by January 31st we'll have it inked and have a press release out announcing the site.
Beautiful. That's great. 5 proposals. That's very nice to have.
And actually, what's nice about it is that we've got 5 facilities that are actually available the week that we need it. Our dates are very specific.
Yep.
That was one of the things that we had trouble with last year's. It wasn't until February that we even found one facility that was available during our dates. So
Good. So we're ahead of the schedule. So
right.
Well, that's great. Anything else going on that you want to mention?
Just on not really on the basketball side. Things are going great. We'll start recruiting for 2018-19 season here right after the first of the year, and we'll do an early registration period starting February 1st for new teams. I got a list. My goal is going to be to add another 25 teams for next year. So
Good. Big things coming in the NCBBA. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be back to talk about the National Club Football Association.
be naughty, not nice. Reverse.
Fundraiser is the official fundraising platform of Cole Club Sports. Teams have the opportunity to create a free online campaign to begin accepting donations in hopes of reaching their fundraising goals. Please be sure to contact Cole Club Sports for more information on this amazing platform for all of your team's fundraising needs.
Motel 6 is the proud lodging partner of Cole Club Sports. All teams, players, and fans receive 10% off the best available nightly rate. For more information on how to book your rooms, contact Alex Kane today. alex.kane@coleclubsports.com.
All right, we're back and we're ready to talk some football. And before we do, you got kids. Did you guys write letters to Santa?
No.
Visit Santa at the mall?
We had the fire truck with Santa came to our neighborhood, which was pretty cool. Yeah. We had Santa come to us.
Santa home delivery.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
Uber Eats, Uber request that?
No.
What does your kids want for Christmas?
Quite honestly, I don't even like. Stevie kind of handled it. Just the typical. Cody doesn't even like
We
toys.
got to get this guy more Christmas spirit.
Yeah, no, I just don't.
Okay.
You know what I mean.
He's too busy with baseball.
Yeah, there's the good answer.
All right, well, you guys want to talk football. Let's talk some football.
Season's over.
Yes, it is. It is. That's a fact.
Talk about the championship.
Championship went well. Operationally, things went very smooth down at Wheeling. The game was very interesting. It was a tale of two halves. It was interesting to see how the dynamic changed when the sun went down. Really, it was Fort Lauderdale got out of the vans and was like, man, this is cold, and it was 45 degrees out, which is nice for that time of year. The sun went down and it dropped to 30. And it sort of changed the dynamic very, very much. So, they started to pull up with some injuries. It seemed like a lot of cramps and things like that. And they got worn out in the second half. I think physically the temperature may have taken a toll on them, and it just seemed like they were starting to get hurt fairly quickly. And at the club football level, rosters aren't that deep to survive
a
whole ton of injuries.
Absolutely.
So. But operationally, the event was great. Really enjoyed using Wheeling again. West Liberty's facility, the West Family Stadium, was beautiful. The staff did a great job, putting on a great event. The national anthem went off without a hitch this year. If you recall, we had a microphone problem last year, not a problem this year. Things went great. So
Getting better.
Yes. So Sacred Heart, national champs. What can you say? It was impressive.
They weren't the number one seed, or they were.
No, they were the number 2 seed.
And that's kind
last
of been
last year, Oakland was the only number 1 seed to ever win the national title.
Yep. And then let's talk about the MVP of the game.
Jordan James, running back from Sacred Heart, had a big game, and scored the go-ahead touchdown in the fourth quarter.
Just had a big game.
Yeah, big game. I don't have the stats in front of me.
Yes,
so,
but he won the MVP.
He won the
valuable
MVP.
player.
Most valuable player for that team.
So what's on tap next? We've crowned the national champion. What's next for teams in the NCFA?
Well, we've got the NCFA league meeting coming up in January. So our off season started. I guess we released All Americans today. So off season starts today.
Okay.
And then
nice.
January 27th is the league meeting. So we got like 3 weeks off. then we got to get back after it. So, yeah, that meeting's back here in Pittsburgh like it has been the last 6-7 years. And all the teams have hopefully received their invitations. It's been announced. It's been the invites, the details have been out for a week and a half now. So it's a good meeting to get to. If you can get to Pittsburgh, weigh your opinion. We'll see what kind of, if there's any rule changes that want to get implemented. I know one of the last things last year was one of the big things was lowering the roster max, and I thought we did a good job with that this year. I don't think a single team actually hit the roster max this year, so I think that's kind of like, we've made a step in improving that, equaled out the playing field, so to speak. So a lot of good information will be relayed there at that meeting, and one of the other things I think people should keep an eye on in the next 2 weeks is the announcement of new teams coming on board the league. Okay. I think Rachel's been working real hard at working the phones and the emails and talking to new teams about coming on board, and I think she's going to surprise some teams with some big announcements here soon.
Cool. And the teams, they have their invitation, they just RSVP. How do they?
Yeah, RSVP. It's all the stuff's in the invitation to the meeting to let us know how many people you're bringing so we can set up the room properly and get all the presentation materials produced so that it can be as productive a meeting as possible. So
perfect. And I know it's a heavily attended meeting and does great things for the league. So make sure you can attend it if you can do it. Anything else football-wise before? I know we're going to get Coach Greg Jones on the line to talk about the national championship. But
yeah, I think one of the other things that teams should be doing right now is getting their league participation agreement renewals in.
Yep.
Those are due by January 15th. That just secures their membership in the league for next year. We're going to move quickly with scheduling like we usually do. Schedule request forms will come out right after the first of the year, and our goal will be to have schedules done by probably February 15th.
Beautiful.
So.
Well, while we'll wait to get Coach Jones on the line, was it the venue? I know is an awesome venue. What? Sorry.
That's okay. Let's go straight to Coach Jones. Coach Jones.
Hello.
Welcome to One.
I'm back again.
Yes,
Love it.
yes. I can hear in the voice. Last time we talked to you, you weren't a national champion yet, but now you are. How's it feel?
Before I get into that real quick, I want to say a couple of different things. First, I want to give Fort Lauderdale a shout out. That was probably one of the toughest games I've ever coached. That team was full of athletes and good. They're a hell of a team, and they're going to be great in the future. So hopefully, we'll see them again next year in the same place, same time. But obviously, we got a lot of work to do and kids to replace. The other thing I want to say was another thing to Coach Tom out in Oakland. Thank you for everything he's done for the NCFA and for Oakland out there. That we played them for the first time in the national semifinal. It was a pleasure to play them. That team is very well disciplined and very well coached, so he'll be very missed in this league. And I think that my shout out can stretch across Sacred Heart's administration and hopefully throughout the rest of the NCFA coaching staff. So shortly missed with that coach, and again, great game with you, University of Fort Lauderdale. Now, what did you ask?
Well, last time you called into the show, you were prepping for a big bowl game. Now you're calling us a national champion. You got that trophy mounted in your desk at work?
Yeah, that hasn't moved. I don't think I've taken the shirt or the hat off. We've got posters everywhere. People won't stop talking about it. I tend to leave out the fact 2 touchdowns in 3 plays at the end of the first half. But, we won, so very happy. School's it's been a lot of fun here.
Well, good. And now, how did your team prepare for that game? Like, was it leading up to the game? You didn't want to divulge too much information. Now that it's behind us, what can you tell us about what you think you were able to prepare for that was successful in getting the W?
Well, we didn't really get to see too much film, and I think it goes back and forth. Our film guy wasn't the best, which is why we didn't have any. But we weren't really sure what we were going to get. But based off looking off stats, we knew they like to spread the ball down the field and get the ball into some of their athletes' hands, 10, 15, 20 yards down the field. So we, practiced a bunch of pass game, a lot of skelly stuff on the field. We also had a couple of our faster guys run around the backfield to try and, duplicate their quarterback. Obviously number 10 there was a hell of an athlete and really caused me a bunch of headaches during that game. So we, tried to duplicate that. Have one of our guys run around there. As the scout team quarterback, throw the ball downfield. A lot of scramble drills. All of our emphasis was on defense, mostly during the week, just because we knew how dynamic they were. So that was really it, again, because we didn't have many plays to put down on paper that we could see. There wasn't much we could do, but there was, stuff we could try and guess. So that's why these kids were, 11 guys to the ball every single snap, making sure we try to keep that kid in the well, which we did not do a very good job at that. But, hey, win's a win at that point, right? Got to stop coaching at some point.
Right. Yeah, there was one of the things I don't think we've seen in an NCFA title game is the amount of turnovers both ways. And it amounted for some exciting football because teams would put together a 70-yard drive, get in the red zone, and then turn it over, and march it 70 the other way and turn it over.
Yeah, that's exactly what we coached. Let's turn the ball over 18 times, and then we won't get a heart attack. No, that was exciting in a sense looking back at it. But that was completely frustrating watching it. Chris Gould would come up with that pick on the goal line when, if they put that ball in the end zone, it's a different game. Big pick there by 18. And then fumbles, the safeties. I think we ended up with 7 safeties this year as a team, which is a mind-boggling stat just, as a defensive coach, something that we respect. But, again, turnovers. Thank God we won that battle, because if we don't win that battle, we don't win the game.
Right. And leading up to one of those, talk me through the moment. It was late in the game. You guys had the ball. You couldn't the clock out. You needed to run another play. But I want to say you had the ball inside their 5, and you guys turned it over. What went through your mind? And then the next snap ended up going through the back of the end zone for a safety. What went through your mind after that turnover?
Well, we thought that, okay, sudden change. Look for a shot. You can't really freak out too much about it because, with the coaching staff, if we start freaking out, the kids start freaking out. So you got to keep a level head, making sure that they're focused on what needs to happen next. So with, that turnover, obviously you want to yell a bunch of obscenities and berate somebody, but you can't do that, especially in a tight game. So, you got to stick to make sure that everybody knows, okay, now they have to drive 99 yards right now. Let's make them get all 99 yards, work for it, don't give it the big play, and see what we can come up with. Football God's looking out that that ball went through his legs out the back of the end zone. That's a big momentum shift, obviously. If we don't, that was huge for us.
Absolutely. From standpoint, that's a roller coaster wrapped up in 30-second window.
Yeah.
Let's.
Those too, Sandy. You look at the end of the first half too. We give up the touchdown to the long drive, get the ball back, and then a pick 6. I think that one it took a few years off my life. So. Well, I'll blame you in a few years for that one. I'm playing this league in that one.
I'll take the blame on that. Let's talk about some of your players' performances during the game. Jordan James taking home the MVP, having been strong on the ground game. What did he mean to your team this season and in that game?
God, I don't think I have the words. I'm not smart enough to describe what he means. That kid's a workhorse. He deserves everything that he earns. That second team is absolutely well-deserving. He's been a battle for us. He always goes to war. He holds on that ball, and I've never seen a kid get more yards after contact. There's a play from earlier this year, and actually one from last year, where he carried, I think, 5 kids into the end zone. There's one earlier this year, too, where he ran over 3 kids and carried another 2 into the end zone. Know how to stop his feet. And that kind of player, you can't teach that. Excuse me. That's one of those things where you can try to, you can talk about effort all you want to, but you put that ball in his hands and, put the team on his back, and he really did. It's like that Greg Jennings and Madden. He put the team on his back, put that big 6 in at the end of the game, and he's the reason why we won. The defense. That's a big kid for us.
All right. And now let's, one of the guys I was impressed with in the game was Curtis Sutherland, specifically on the receiver side of the ball. He made a couple fingertip catches that were absolutely spectacular.
Absolutely.
And then when we went through and we're looking at the All-American, something like he had actually gotten a lot of touches at the receiver position throughout the season, considering how impressive he was at the national title game.
Right. Well, that's the thing, too. We had a lot of depth. And just because he didn't have that many touches during the year doesn't mean he wasn't as dynamic. He made some great catches. Behringer obviously made a bunch of big catches. Tyler Toussaint, who dropped off the varsity team earlier this year, didn't play a snap, comes down to us and was huge. He made some big catches down the stretch. A couple of toe drags there, the Antonio Browns, I guess you want to call it, where they just made these big plays in the sidelines to extend drives, get that 10 yards, get the first downs. Michael Lynch, A.J. Hoy had the big play. I would have called him Wes Welker if he dropped that ball on the side. But, we've had a lot of depth. So, I mean, Curtis didn't get a ton of touches, but you look at his touchdowns, and it seemed like every time he touched the ball, something special happened. And, you know, as much as we try to get involved, you got to spread the ball out because we have a lot of dynamic players that we really wanted to showcase. So we didn't really want to, but we had the ability to, and that's, I think, why we were so successful. Up at that, and then you look at our offensive line. I mean, we had some turnover there at left guard and right tackle, but those other three, JT, Andrew Crooks, Rory McCain. Rory McCain might as well have been the offensive line coach. That's a smart human being. But a big, you know, those three alone, the offensive line in total, you know, they gave the Chris School all that time to throw the ball, and it's very dynamic. You have a good offensive line, you're going to win a lot of games.
How did you feel about, you know, I know Brian Moore is the heart and soul of your defense. How did you feel about his performance in the game? And I believe he's a senior. He's done, correct?
He is done. He is done, unfortunately. I've been begging him to come into grad school for his last year of eligibility, but he's got his sights set on never putting the helmet back on because he's beat up right now. But I can't blame him either. He gave me everything that he had the last 3 years, and I love that kid. You know, I love all these kids. You know, they've given everything for me since August, and this coaching staff. And another thing, you know, my coaching staff, you know, they've worked these late nights. I don't know. We were out in the middle of the night practicing 10 to midnight most nights, just so we can get everybody there and all the coaches. You know, Mike Situti, who's got another job. RJ Noel's got another job. They work during the day. Tyler Beauchene, John Shannon. These guys, you know, really put in a big effort for me. You know, 10 to midnight's not an easy time to coach. You know, I'm an old man now, so 10 to midnight's bedtime.
Well, how much, you know, when you got back to campus, you know, I know Ray, your club sports coordinator, was there. It was great getting to meet. I've worked with Ray for probably 14 years. Never actually met him face to face until the game. So it was great getting to meet him, and it was great your victory. How did that relate back to, you know, the after party and the return to campus?
The after party hasn't stopped, actually, Sandy. We're still going. That's going right through the damn New Year. This is something very special. You know, when we got back, again with Ray, he got me out of RC 3 years ago, and he's a great boss, a great director, and even better friend. Does everything for this program, everything for this school. You know, he's a lifer like I am, so everything that this program and this department, you know, does well at and succeeds in is all testament to him and his work ethic. When we got back, the next day, I was told I had to be up at 7 o'clock in the morning trustees meeting. I say damn board trustees meeting because I hate 7 a.m. So we get to go in there and do that and talk to everybody, and it's been nonstop partying since then. I mean, we've had different events, basketball games, honorees at hockey games. We've had every Christmas party, which is, you know, it's a school, so there's a bunch of them. It seems like the biggest talk is, you know, the club football team's a national champion. So it's very cool. I'm very proud of my guys because they deserve everything. They worked so hard for this and dealt with all of my yelling and stuttering throughout the entire season. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'm very, very proud to be the coach of these 45 young men and in this school.
Now, how much downtime do you get back to work on defending that title?
They first had to get back from break. We're we get back into it. You know, we got a new off-season program we're going to work on. You know, with different coaches, different things going on there. We got some kids we got to replace, obviously, with a lot of seniors graduating. You know, Brian Moore, Rory McCain, Chris Schoolo, Sutherland, Amir Drazi. We're missing a lot of players that were recognized for All-American, and even some that weren't. So we got a lot of work ahead of us. And the kids already know it. They came in the next day when I'm sitting there, you know, with my Grinch smile on. They're in there already working out. And so, you know, they can get better and trying to schedule some stuff with coaches to get some work done on the side. So, you know, you can't teach them. I get blessed with a lot of kids that have it.
Outstanding. Well, Coach, congratulations on the national championship. You know, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Been a pleasure working with you this season. And tell all your fellows congrats as well. And sorry I did to the celebration party. So, but
hey, you always got an invite. You're just out there 8 hours away from us, so I don't know how long. I can't wait that long for it. Beer gets cold.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing.
I appreciate everything. You know, it's been a fun season, and we can't wait to get back to it. You know, again, I want to give a shout out to Chelsea and my mom again. You know, they raised me in a certain way that allowed me to be able to be in a successful position. So I owe everything to them. Appreciate you guys. Have a merry, happy holidays.
You too, buddy. We'll see you on the second half on the other side of New Year's. Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know what this was, but have a couple more for me. All right, boss?
All right, sounds good.
See you later, guys.
I was acting out loud. I was trying to say we'll see you on the other side of New Year's.
Yeah.
And I said something about the second half.
Second half of the other side of New Year's.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
That makes July 1st.
Yeah.
The second half of the other side of New Year's. Right?
Okay. You're all right.
Joe. Talking to him. I'm done talking. I'm going on strike.
Okay, once this dies down. No, we're going to get Dave Mogensen on the line.
Oh, what does he do? Gridiron Breakdown with Mogs. Anyway, Dave's going to be joining us. Bowl game again. He flew in from Milwaukee to do the color with the famous Ryan Norris.
R.Nor.
R.Nor on the play-by-play. Is this Coach Mogs?
This is Coach Mogs. Sandy, Christian, what's happening?
Coach.
Hey. Good to hear from you, sir.
Very good to be on. I didn't think Coach Jones was going to stop talking. He's so excited.
He was excited. He was. He had a lot of good things to say, too. So, but we appreciate, I don't know if you know, Christian, Dave's in the middle of a transition. He got a promotion at work to a new to a new job with him, and so he's going to University of Milwaukee Green Bay.
Nice.
University of Wisconsin Green Bay. I'm calling you for the first time from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Wow.
Country.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Have you successfully moved up there yet? Like, is the family relocated?
No, not yet. I'm home next week for the holidays, and then we start moving up. So
how far away is it? From how far away is it?
From 3 hours.
3 hours. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's not too bad.
So, not too bad of a move, but too far for a commuting deal. So
Yeah, absolutely,
move
100%.
is necessary.
Well, what did you think of it?
I thought it was. We talked beforehand about whether big offense or good defense is going to win, and true to form, true to football, right? The defense was the story of the game. So two pretty good defenses. Sacred Hearts was a little bit better. The story after that was people kind of look at the offense negatively, like, oh, all these turnovers, 9 turnovers, but then you also got to look at it, two really good defenses, and the majority of those turnovers were caught. They weren't just a guy throwing a wild pass or just dropping a ball. It was caused by really good defense. So I think the story of that championship game is two really good defenses. Fort Lauderdale, they were a really good defense. They should be in the discussion with the Sacred Hearts and the Oaklands and Eastern Connecticut for the best defense in the league. But Sacred Heart, just as they did all year, played really, really good defense.
Absolutely. Turning to looking a little bit forward to next season. Like Sacred Heart's going to be doing a lot of rebuilding here. I'm very excited to see what Fort Lauderdale brings to the table next year, because first year program getting all the way up to the having the lead in the second half of the national title game. That's a heck of an accomplishment for a first season. There were some serious athletes on that team, so I'm excited having a first year under their belt, what they come back with in year 2 and be able to perform for us.
Yeah, I agree. Like, the one thing that I'm not sure of, he's listed as a senior, and I'm not sure how his eligibility is the quarterback, Nate Watson, is listed as a senior. He kind of drove that whole offense, So if he's not coming back, that's an athlete everywhere, all over the place, wideouts, DBs, linemen, super good athletes everywhere. So that'll be really interesting to see if they can continue to just get better and maybe recruit a few more people and have some more players. But Sacred Heart, I think they're going to be rebuilding, but they do have a lot of key guys coming back or should come back. And I think Coach Jones will get some new guys out there. I think Coach Manas over at Oakland is leaving, so there's who's going to step in and take over that program. They've been really good. Some other teams have some other things happening too. So it'll be an interesting off season and see what teams do and who comes on. See if we get any new teams and go from there.
All right. Interesting points you'd like to add about the championship game before we move on to talk about the All-Americans process?
No, I think it was a good game. It was fun. It was exciting. There was huge plays on both sides. You had a Hail Mary catch at the end of the half. Those are always cool and fun to hear and see and do it. So I think it highlighted the story of the NCFA really defenses, and that kind of culminated in the national championship game.
How were your eardrums after that Hail Mary catch and Ryan Norris probably going berserk?
Oh, Norris went crazy on that, and you go listen to the playback, and it's insanely loud and wild, and he was practicing that call before the game. So
wow,
not necessarily Hail Mary, but it's loud
His grand finale celebration call.
Yeah. He did not miss a beat when it happened.
Nice. And, you're right. Watson was unbelievable. His legs, his composure with his legs and his speed. Christian, you were unable to be there. Watson had, you ran 120 yards for a 10-yard gain. I think he touched both sidelines in the same play. Right. He could outrun everybody. It was unbelievable. It was very impressive.
On a national championship game with great athletes on both sides of the ball, Nate Watson was the best athlete on the field, which was saying a lot. I mean, he was just.
All right, well, let's move on to some national NCFA All-American stuff. Those just got released like 2 hours ago.
That's awesome.
What I think people need to know, Dave is our director of awards and recognition. He puts together tabulates all the nomination batch statistics, so that organizes it so that we can look at it and really compare apples to apples when we're looking at wide receivers, when we're looking at quarterbacks, when we're looking at running backs and so forth. So there's a lot of legwork that goes into it on Dave's end. Really appreciate that. And for those of you at home that are sitting back wondering, hey, why isn't this guy? First criteria to becoming an All-American is your coach must nominate you. Number one, you must be nominated. So.
I think that's a big thing that always gets on the message board chatter after we release it is your coach or your team president has to nominate you. And there's reasons, I suppose, that people aren't nominated. That's something that people need to realize.
Right. Yeah. We need to know who are actually the wide receivers. We can't look at 400 wide receivers and pick. We need that list broken down for us by the coach and say, hey, here's the 2 or 3 wide receivers on my team that you need to be looking at. Anyway, so talk about what we ended up with here.
Yeah, so I don't have the thing right in front of me. I should have printed it, but we had a good. I thought we had a good mix of different teams. This year, when I compile all the stats, what you saw was a lot of guys with really good seasons, and especially really good season. We didn't have like a bunch of standout offensive seasons like we've had in the past. We had a couple guys that had huge great seasons, but we had a bunch of wide receivers with similar stats, and we had a bunch of running backs with similar stats, and we had 4 or 5 quarterbacks that were all right there. So when it came down to having that call and deliberating was not easy, especially offensively. On the defensive side of the ball, there's where you had some guys with some really crazy numbers and really good years from sacks, interceptions, and tackles. There was some stuff there that was pretty impressive. All right, so player of the year wise, we went with obviously Jordan James won the bowl game MVP, so he's listed there. But the offensive player of the year, you had the wide receiver from George Mason, Willie Morrow, crazy numbers, 27 yards a catch, which is wild. Every single time he touches the ball, 27 yards is happening.
Absolutely. That was the one thing I was telling you when we were looking through the stats and everything is on the offense jumped out to me the most. The biggest bridge between him and the next person at his position. Like you said, there were a lot of categories where it was, 4 or 5 guys all right there competing for that spot on the All-American team, where Willie's stats were just, 2 stats. Very impressive. It kind of snuck up on me throughout the regular season because I think their quarterback, Justin Fennecal, got a lot of the publicity for their offense being so impressive.
Yeah. I mean, he was right there too. He was, but you remember, going back to the Facebook and the message boards and all that stuff. Morrow was the one who had that big catch that was posted on there at the NCAA kickoff game, where he kind of caught that pass, the Odell Beckham style, with the one hand falling over. That was his big catch, and that kind of just springboarded him. He only had one game in this whole year where he did not have 100 yards.
Very impressive. Yes.
So, he was a standout there. It was an easy decision, I think, for an offensive player of the year. Defensive player of the year was more difficult. You had some guys with a lot of stats. You had Brian Moore with Sacred Heart, who was right there in that discussion at the end. He, kingpin of the bunch of sacks, bunch of tackles. We got to see him face to face, up live in person at the national title game, and he definitely was everything that he was cracked up to be. But so he was in the discussion. We had a lot of sacks from defensive linemen over at Robert Morris. Other guys in Sacred Heart. We had guys in Oakland. Bobby C had another big year. you're looking for that numbers that jump off the screen at you, and that was Stephen O'Connell had 13 interceptions. And 3 of them he took back for touchdowns. And you're like, oh my gosh, 13 interceptions is pretty wild.
That's an 8-year NFL career.
Game breaking. Yeah, that's 13 interceptions. He had that's what he averaged 2 interceptions a game, and you got to figure teams are probably not like throwing to him that much because they know he's good, so he's making the most of his opportunities that he's given.
Yeah. Moving down the list, we end up at Coach of the Year.
Yep.
Coach Jones.
Yeah, that was an easy one. Coach Jones, when I look back at it, they've been in the league for 3 years. And when I kind of wrote the synopsis, we agreed Coach Jones should be the guy. They're 20-3 in the 3 years that they've been in NCFA, so that's pretty impressive there. And then capping that 3-year period off with the national title game, that was an easy one from the fact that they won the national title, that record, and then when you talk to other coaches and you take so that's a mark of a pretty good coach and deserving Coach of the Year.
Absolutely. And, and the way he kept it, I thought it was impressive the way, because that national title game had a lot of ups and downs to it emotionally, and I thought he did an outstanding job of maintaining his guys on an even level. He often got nuts, but by doing that, he kept his guys focused and even keeled, and so that they could just focus on, executing the game of football, and it paid off in the long run.
Yeah, most definitely. They could have cracked. They were down. They had that Hail Mary at the end of the first half. They easily could have cracked and taken that game. But whatever he did at halftime and what he continued to do throughout the second half really got those guys motivated to chip away, and ultimately we know what happened at the end.
Absolutely. Moving down, the next of the postseason awards, we're at team president, Allison Kornberg from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, exciting to put them in there and give them some recognition. They had some people nominated for All-Americans that just didn't quite make it the cut as far as stats and stuff, but the fact that Pitt goes out, gets their first win, right, does that, and then you talk to other coaches and other players and stuff around the league, and you find that once a game, they're really competitive, night and day difference from last year to this year as far as competitiveness and organization of the team. And then they, had the NCFA Kickoff Classic there this year. They hosted that, working with Scott Hoffman and getting that going. So that's a lot of legwork too. I think that was a real easy one to say. Here's a team that, from night and day, recognize for that.
Absolutely, I think that's great, and I love Allison's story. For those of you that don't know her, she was a player at George Mason, and then transferred to Pitt. And the first thing she did when she got into Pitt was called us up and said, I want to start a club. She didn't say I want to. She said, I'm going to start a club for your radar. And everything she says has happened. So congratulations to her on her recognition and the program, going from no wins in year one to 2 in year, getting us 2 years, 2 wins this year. So nice to see them on the rise and see what they have in store for next year. Good job as president. She's delegating responsibilities to other officers. So she's got a team of officers doing the work with her. And that's the way to get the most bang for your buck. And
that's the way to get continued success and continued growth.
With the transition, I'm not sure what Allison's status is in terms of graduation, but when she does step down, there will be 4 or 5 officers ready to compete for that new president title right there.
Yeah,
so good for her.
Yeah, exactly.
And then last but not least on our postseason awards, Conference Coordinator of the Year, also Director of Football Development. Congratulations.
Sounds like an inside job to me.
She was the winner of a 4-person race. No, we appreciate all Rachel has done, mentoring the new programs with not only Fort Lauderdale, but University of Florida was getting them developed, getting Fort Lauderdale to the national championship. So she's done a great job of being the conference coordinator of the South Atlantic and making sure everything went off without a hitch down there, and not to mention her other role with the NCFA. So
there's a million things behind the scenes. So
she does. People don't realize that. She literally is behind the scenes right now. We are on the scene, and she's behind it right there. We want to pan over there. Show her hard at work.
Do not. Alex,
Alex, let's put Rachel.
I hate you so much right now.
and he lost his exposure. So congratulations, Rachel. Dave, we're going to let you go. Thanks so much for joining us on the show. Thanks for all your hard work, compiling all the stats and nominees for the postseason awards. If you're at home, it's on the website. Check it out. It's on Facebook, Twitter. You can see all the. I guess the next thing will be All-American Award winners, which will come out in January. Correct?
Yep, academic. We'll start getting here right after the holidays, trying to get nominees for that, and there's a little more to that because they got to submit some record of us knowing they meet the restrictions for academics. But that usually comes out.
Hey, congratulations on the new job. Good luck with the move, and happy holidays to you and your family.
Same to you guys. Hopefully, I'll talk to you at some point soon. But happy holidays, and have a good travels if you're traveling anywhere.
All right, we'll do. All right, we'll see you.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, well, that concludes the show. We're going to wrap it up and say goodbye. So thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Suite 301. As always, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
And the next episode is Tuesday, January 16th. That is January 16 at 3:01 p.m.
I'm going to be on a tour of Ohio, Kentucky,
with Joe
Indiana, with Joe Eshaf.
All right.
So you'll have to find a replacement.
We'll figure something out. But yeah, make sure to tune in right here on Facebook Live. Join us then to catch up on everything that's happening around Cole Club Sports. As always,
it's a